I don't know. I don't really miss it. To be honest, I don't miss the Sherman that much because this thing is plenty, plenty. But I know I will miss it. Oh no, that doesn't make sense. I will feel like I missed it. The moment I jump back on the Sherman and feel that speed again, I'm going to be like, dude, I've been missing something, you know? I just look forward to that feeling again because that extra bit of speed makes such a big difference. It's like 50 it's plenty fast, but even going from 50 to 60, it makes a huge difference in terms of how it feels. Because at 50, you're just kind of above, like, say, max sprinting speeds. You know, like Usain Bolt, his top speed is like 42. So at 50, you're like a bit faster than that, but not much, you know? So you're just slightly above the top speed of like human beings, you know, the fastest human. You're kind of in that range, do you know what I mean? Whereas 60, now you're somewhere else. Now you're like a bike bombing down a hill speed. And it feels totally different. It's like the level of adrenaline that you get is like double, going from 50 to 60. When you're going 50, you still feel kind of like you could handle yourself if you fell off it, you know? Like you couldn't run it off, but, you know, it's kind of... You're sort of in that safety zone. But then 60 is like, dude, now I'm really moving. You know, now I definitely can't run anywhere near this speed and I'm going like a car, basically. And then 70, it's like a roller coaster. There's no reason it should smell like death. What's up? We're here at the reservoir again. Got my wheel, my drink, my gear, and my bag, and my shoes, and my socks, and myself, and my cell phone. I'm actually recording on my cell phone. And what I want to talk about, just kind of something personal, is this Uber Eats thing is kind of doing a bit of damage to me. And I'll explain that. And right now I'm drinking that mango drink. Delicious and healthy. So why is Uber Eats damaging me? How does that make sense? Well, I want to make sure I'm recording this properly. Well, guys, yeah, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to use this bag as a stand to hold the camera up. This whole Uber Eats thing, like, as I should mention, I'm delivering as a delivery man, delivery boy, delivering food. And I've been doing it for like 5 weeks now, I reckon. What is it doing to me? How is it damaging me? I'm eating the shit, guys. I'm eating the stuff I'm supposed to be delivering. And it's doing my health in. I'm not eating the customer's food, but I'm eating similar food to them. And it's no good. It's no good for me. It's no good for anyone, to be honest. But I'm tempted. I'm like, you know, I'm delivering that stuff all day. And then I smell the fumes, you know, you can smell that food. And then at the end of the day, I'm like just craving some junk food, you know? And when I say junk food, I mean anything basically processed. Anything cooked, basically. including bread and pasta, things like that. That's, to me, that's junk food. I've been eating really healthy for quite a while. A lot of you know that I eat 1 meal a day, and I've been doing that for at least 3 years plus. And I've been eating healthy also. It's healthy to eat 1 meal a day, and then if you eat the right foods, it's even more healthy. It's all been a bit of a health trip, like I don't eat 1 meal a day because I can't afford to eat more than that, even though I couldn't for a while. Like, it's all I could afford. But it's about health. It's not about wealth. And I've been on a really strict diet for the longest time, or like, a few years at least. Mostly fruit and veg. That's like my ideal food is just fruit and veg and nothing else. Like, not even grains, like wheat, barley, rye, oats, all that kind of stuff. It's junk. It's not what that stuff is. And this is going to be interesting for those of you that want to listen to this. It's pretty interesting because most people don't really know that what we eat in this society, like in anywhere, Western, Eastern, anywhere in the world, basically, Africa, Europe, the Americas, Australasia, we all eat the same kind of stuff, really. It's basically cooked carbohydrates and meat, and that's it. In Asia, you got lots of rice. In Europe, they eat lots of pasta. In America, they eat lots of bread. In Australia, also, lots of bread. I basically grew up eating meat and bread, and that's it, and cheese and milk. That was my whole diet, like, for years. I couldn't even pick up a piece of fruit. Like, the way you're programmed, like, the way you eat is what you kind of program yourself to eat. You get used to a certain type of food, and then anything outside of that just is hard to eat. Like when I was eating that kind of stuff, I struggled to eat any kind of fruit or veg. And then I started eating super healthy, and it's like, it was such I noticed the difference tremendously. It was like night and day. It was like an awakening. I realized that for so many years I've been basically living in a lethargic state, like trying to get up in the morning and just feeling tired after lunch. Like, it's not, people think it's normal. You eat a big lunch and then you just want to fall asleep on a couch, basically. And I noticed, especially with a 1 meal a day thing, I wouldn't say especially, they're both equally important. It's what you eat and it's how often you eat. When you just eat at night, or like, after you've done everything for the day, basically, then that's the ideal way to eat. Like, you've got the most energy that way, I noticed. You don't know this until you do it, though. Before you've done it, before you've tried this, you're going to think it's the other way around. Like, if you don't eat, you feel like you're dying, basically. You feel like crap. You get dizzy, you get stomach aches, you feel like you got no energy. And that's not normal. It's like, this is interesting. Like, hang around. I'm going to break some news here, guys. Think about first, in nature, who would be eating 3, 4, 5 times a day? Every 2 hours, basically, people eat. They eat lunch, dinner, they got breakfast, they got snacks, brunch, and supper. You got so many meals. And it's normal. People grow up like that. When you're a kid, you're basically told, like, don't even skip breakfast. Make sure you never skip breakfast because it's bad for you. If you don't eat breakfast, you could die. You could get a heart attack. You could pass out and just die right there on the ground. I'm not serious. You can't die like that. But people feel that they will, and you become so addicted to eating often, just constantly, right? And let me give you an analogy to any kind of drug addict, but especially look at heroin addicts, right? Heroin addicts, when they don't have their heroin, they feel down. They feel no energy, they headaches, stomach aches, all that stuff, right? And then when they get their drug, they feel okay again. They can go to work even. They can look after their family, whatever. You got heroin addicts that live normal lives, as well as alcoholics, methamphetamine addicts. You got all kind of addicts. But one thing I didn't realize is food is another one of those addictions, especially junk food, like heavy, greasy, sugary, high in protein even. Those heavy dishes, it's a drug in itself. Like, you don't even realize it, but it is, because, for example, I can feel it now. Like, if I were to go outside my diet and eat a big meal, like at lunch, it's a drug. I'm done. I'm done for the day. I'm down. I'm out. I'm going to feel like shit because I can feel it heavy now because I'm off that addiction kind of way of eating, eating every 2 hours like nothing in nature does. In nature, most animals eat at most once a day, sometimes once every 2 days or 3 days. Even they can go a week without eating and they have no trouble doing that. Most animals, like things similar to us, even, chimpanzees and bonobos, things like that, they can easily go a week without eating and not have any trouble, shows no signs of trouble. Next time they get a meal, they eat, they're fine. With us, we just miss breakfast and we're fucked. We're like in agony, right? Miss lunch and then it gets worse and worse. Miss a whole day and then they say, even there's a saying that says it only takes 5 missed meals to cause an apocalypse? I don't know. To cause like complete, societal breakdown, like society will break down basically. Civilization will break down if people don't eat for like 2 days basically. And it's true. People turn into zombies. Like, if you go off, like, I'm not saying do it, try it. Just try to skip breakfast and lunch and then just start feeling that pain in your gut or that headache or whatever symptoms you might get. Because not everyone gets the same symptoms. Many people say they don't even get a pain in their gut. They just get the dizziness. They get dizzy and tired. Right? It's not normal because, guys, I don't eat anything all day and it's the most energy I've ever had. The most energy I've ever had is when I've been eating once a day strictly and eating healthy as well. And what has UberEats done to me? It hasn't knocked me off the 1 meal a day path, but it's knocked me off the health. Like the healthy foods I was eating in the past, now I'm eating like I said, the kind of stuff I'm delivering. Still vegan, like I still don't eat meat or milk or, dairy. But I'm eating junk food still. And vegan junk food can be every bit as bad as non-vegan junk food, even worse, depending on what you're eating. So it's a big, like I've noticed it. You can probably see it. Maybe you can't tell, but keep this in, I'll keep this up on YouTube and look at my eyes, guys. And you can see I don't look the healthiest. Like, I don't know if you can tell, but I'm going to try and make this like timestamp where I'm going to start eating healthy, guys. And check back in 5 days, let's say. Or not even even in 3 days, you'll notice my eyes change. But if I can do this for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you're going to see I look just healthier, fresh, not haggard. Like when you get up in the morning sometimes and you feel all tired and then you need to like put cold water on your face to wake up and not look all like, haggard. Well, when you eat well, you kind of have that feeling all the time. Like as soon as you wake up, you're fresh. You don't even feel like you need a shower. Like you just look showered, And it makes you smell like you get less BO. Eventually you get no BO. Once you eat healthy long enough, your BO will go away and your shit will stop smelling. I know it sounds weird. Like there's a saying, your shit don't, you're acting like your shit don't stink. You know that saying? I shit you not when I tell you that your shit will not stink if you can eat nothing but fruit and veg. Do it for 2 weeks, but after that 2 weeks, your shit will stop stinking. I guarantee it. And you'll notice it afterwards because you get used to your own shit. People like, you go into a toilet after someone just took a shit, like a big smelly dump, and you're like, dude, I can't go in there. You gotta wait, you gotta, spray all this deodorizer, air it out, then you can go in. But when it's your own shit, it doesn't matter so much, even if it stinks. Because it's your shit, you're used to that kind of shit. You're used to what you're eating. If you eat something extravagantly different, then you might be like, dude, even you might not be able to put up with it for a second. But for the most part, you can withstand your own shit. But then when you go on this diet, guys, and then your shit stops stinking, then when you fall off the diet again and eat some like junk food again or whatever, anything that's like processed basically, you'll notice that you'll be like, dude, that smell. When you go take a dump, you're going to be like, dude, I can't believe that. You'll be like, dude, I can't even put up with that. Even though it's your own shit because you're not used to it anymore. And that, like, when you have that experience, you're going to be like, yeah, man, there's something wrong with the stuff we're eating. The stuff we're being told to eat. Why should it smell that foul after just passing, just one straight through? Like, when you eat, most stuff like that you eat, it processes fairly quickly. There's no reason it should smell like death as it's coming out your body. And yeah, this UberEats thing has knocked me off this health trip. That's the thing I wanted to talk about. Give you a look at the wheel. So it's still looking nice and new. And so what I am doing is I'm taking a break from the deliveries, and I'm gonna get myself back into gear, because not only does it make you look haggard, like I said, like I don't know if you can tell, but I feel haggard just from the diet I've been eating. Not only does it make you look haggard, but you feel tired, like you lose so much energy. And you don't notice it though until you've gone on this diet. Because when you eat what you eat and you do what you do, that's the energy level you're accustomed to. But then when you get an energy boost from eating good, and then you get used to that and you just do that, every day, then when you go back to eating junk food, you will feel it like a hangover. I'm not even kidding. As bad as a hangover, every bit as bad. Sometimes I feel so bad, like I literally want to vomit. Like the next day, I'm like, dude, that food, I can feel it. It's toxic as hell, anything processed, basically, guys. Even stuff that you'd think might be healthy, like muesli bars or cereals, stuff like that. It's all processed junk. Think about how do they even make that stuff? All these cereals and stuff, like basically made in a factory, processed to the max. The main form of processing is thermal processing, by the way, which is just cooking. When you cook stuff, you do a lot to the chemistry. You change. Well, you know what heat is basically? It's kinetic energy of the molecules. They're like moving around. The hotter it gets, the faster they move around, to the point where they can break apart, they can change form. We all know this. When you heat something up, it melts. So it goes from solid to liquid to vapor. And you do, not just that, you can do lots of stuff through heat. You basically create disorder. Like say if you had an orderly set of proteins, for example, proteins are long chains of amino acids. If you add heat to that, you can intertwine them all and just end up with a mess, a big clump of amino acids, basically disordered. There's very little chance that you're going to gain any benefit from cooking. Like they say, there's certain things that you do enhance, like lycopene, I think, in tomatoes. If you cook them, you can get more of the lycopene out, right? One particular nutrient, and that's it. So you got a bit more of this one thing, and then the other thousands of things in there, you don't know what's going on with those. Most likely they're being reduced in terms of efficacy or completely eliminated. Like lots of things, like all these enzymes will basically disappear once you cook it. You make it more acidic. Like I said, you mess up all the proteins. And the fat, you oxidize. When you add heat to anything, basically, you oxidize it tremendously. One good example of this is take an iron bar, just a soldering iron. You know soldering irons? It's the stuff you use to, do circuitry, to make connections. It's like it just melts this soft metal. And when you get a brand new soldering iron, or the tip most specifically, the tip is what gets hot, right? When it's brand new, you're going to see it's all shiny, completely like a brand new car, all shiny. Heat it up to just 300 degrees Celsius and leave it there for just 5 minutes and then look at it. What does it look like? It's all rusted because the heat enhances oxidation tremendously. Like if you actually work it out, normally, like in a dry climate, if you leave an iron bar, like the iron tip, of a soldering iron, it'll take about 10, 15 years, maybe 20, 30 years, depending on the climate, to rust to that level. Whereas if you heat it up to 300 degrees, it's going to get there in 5 minutes. So do the math. How much more quickly is it oxidizing? Like a million. It's absurd. And that applies to basically anything. When you heat up fats, you oxidize them to the max. Everyone knows this. Like people know not to cook with olive oil, for example, because of the oxidation. But it's any oil. Some are just more like less stable, so then they're going to have even more oxidation. But it doesn't matter. Any oil that you fry something with, most of that is oxidized. Basically what that means is they're binding with oxygen molecules and you're changing the form. It's now something else. Whereas before it was a perfectly clean fat or a protein or a carbohydrate, perfect out of nature, just how it came in nature. And then you go like a mad scientist and heat it up to 300 degrees or whatever temperature you might use. and then you changed it. Now it's bound with oxygen molecules. It's something else now. It is something else. That's how chemistry works. Look at water, for example, H2O. What happens when you add an oxygen molecule to that? You get H2O2, hydrogen peroxide, a poison. So when you add just one oxygen molecule to water, you end up with a deadly poison. See how that works? And I'm not saying, when you cook your fat, you turn that into a deadly poison, but you do change it and it becomes more toxic. Maybe not a deadly poison, but over time it is. It'll give you a heart attack. It'll give you lots of things, strokes and who knows what else. I mean, anything, like if you're introducing that into your bloodstream, and that goes all throughout your body, doesn't it? Goes through your brain, through all your organs, your skin. It's going to change the way you look. It's not good for your skin. I've noticed since I've been eating worse, like my skin is like drier, and yeah, that's my rant on why cooking stuff is not ideal. And I'm not saying it's like always super bad. If you just, it depends on temperature basically. The higher the temperature, the more you alter the nutrition, and the more toxic it becomes essentially. For example, fried food, that oil boils much. When you put oil in a pan, it gets very hot because the boiling point of oil, I think it's like maybe 300 degrees, let's say. Whereas the boiling point of water is only 100 degrees. So if you cook in water, it's much more healthy. Boiled pasta, boiled rice, stuff, things like that. And it's much better. It's still not ideal though. Like I said, if you can eat stuff that's not cooked, not boiled, then it's better. I've been enjoying my ride though. I've guys, had my wheel, I changed my wheel and it was, all of a sudden it felt weird, back in that video. Where I was like, oh my God, what's happened to my wheel? It feels so weird. And then after like 100 kilometers, it felt good again. I don't know what it was, if it was like, because I had to wear it in, or I just had to get used to it, just adapt my own skills to the new wheel or the new tire. I don't know what it was, but it got better fairly quickly. And then one day I got out there and I was like, dude, this feels awesome. And I didn't realize either. That day I was just riding and I was just like, wait a minute. This is back to where it was. Like, back to not thinking, just doing. Whatever you want to do is what the wheel does. And that's how it was. I was like just in the zone. And then it just occurred to me, dude, this is the new tire. We're back, baby. And that was such a good feeling, guys, when I had that moment. It brought me out of this depression. Because while I've been talking about my food, like falling off my diet, it made me feel depressed also, because it's like a drug. Like I said, it's like taking some kind of drug. It's like drinking alcohol and waking up with a hangover every day. And I was feeling depressed. And one day I was like, dude, I've got no energy. I just feel like crap. And there's nothing I can do. Just laying here feels like crap, So I was like, dude, I need to get my food back in order. But that same day was the day the wheel felt back to normal. And it just brought me out of the depression. Like, I was like feel like chemically, I'm not even like my own perception. It wasn't like, oh, I'm depressed, but now I'm not. I could feel like inside, like, it's hard to explain, guys, but it was like bringing happiness to my biology. Like your mood depends on lots of hormones like cortisol, dopamine, endorphins, and serotonin, melatonin, all these things define or will determine how you feel, like what kind of mood you're in. You got like, melatonin is more for being relaxed. It's what you want to produce at night. Whereas cortisol, adrenaline, I didn't mention, adrenaline, cortisol, epinephrine, those things are more for the waking cycle. So you want those when you're like busy, working hard. Especially when you're like in danger and you need like a real boost of energy, then you need more adrenaline and cortisol. But yeah, like I felt somehow, I don't know what it was, but when this wheel felt back to normal, I was like, I just felt this lift inside me. I was like, dude, this is sick. Because I felt depressed the moment I changed my tire and then jumped on it, and I was like, what is this? I can't feel anything. Like, I feel like I'm riding a hoverboard or something. It just felt like crap. And it would dip by itself, super dangerous, It wouldn't, it would dip when I tried to keep it upright. But then when I wanted to turn, it wouldn't want to turn. It just like, it felt so wrong. And when that happened, I was depressed because I was like, I just felt like I'd done something stupid because I changed my tire. So I was like, so I did all that work just to make my wheel shit. And I didn't know, is this going to get better or what? Like, what am I going to do now? So that made me depressed in of itself. But then eating bad, just made me even more depressed. I mean, the wheel thing wasn't, I'm not like depressed all of a sudden, but it was just a bad feeling. I was like, oh my God, what's happened to my baby? Especially after, working on it and stuff. But the food, that makes you real, like, depressed, like, systemically, you're like, you got no energy, you're done. And yeah, the wheel kind of like made up for that a bit. It was some like much needed boost. But yeah, we'll leave it at that, guys. I recorded this on my phone. It's been 30 minutes. And yeah, can't wait to jump on this thing again. I'm loving this wheel. Still loving the wheel. I'll fix my Sherman soon. Like I said, I haven't talked about it for a while, but I'm still waiting for that legal stuff to conclude. And that's when I'll put my Sherman back together. If they don't say anything by the end of this month, if I don't get some kind of word from them, the fines agency or the police or something, then I'm going to call them and find out what's going on. Because I reckon, like, if they do drop it, maybe they're not even going to tell me. So I'm just going to be sitting here waiting. And yeah, I can't wait to put that thing together too, because I don't know, I don't really miss it. To be honest, I don't miss the Sherman that much. Because this thing is providing, like, plenty. You know what I mean? It's got plenty, it's got enough. It's not fast enough, really. Like, I've said many times that 50 isn't really fast enough. Especially because a lot of the roads here are 60. So if you can only go 50, you're excluded from a lot of the roads. Or not excluded, but it's just not as good, If you can keep up with cars, you're a lot safer. And it's just a better ride. And my point though is that it's good enough to where it makes, I'm happy with it. I enjoy the ride. I enjoy the hell out of the ride. So the Sherman, even though I should miss it. I don't really miss it because, like I said, this thing it's got plenty. But I know I will miss it. Oh no, that doesn't make sense. I will feel like I've missed it. The moment I jump back on the Sherman and feel that speed again, I'm gonna be like, dude, I've been missing something, you know? And I just look forward to that feeling again because that extra bit of speed makes such a big difference. It's like 50 it's plenty fast, but even going from 50 to 60, it makes a huge difference in terms of how it feels. Because at 50, you're just kind of like above, like say max sprinting speeds, you know, like Usain Bolt, his top speed is like 42. So at 50, you're like a bit faster than that, but not much, you know? So you're just slightly above the top speed of like human beings, you know, the fastest human. You're kind of in that range, do you know what I mean? Whereas 60, now you're somewhere else. Now you're like a bike bombing down a hill speed. And it feels totally different. It's like the level of adrenaline that you get is like double going from 50 to 60. When you're going 50, you still feel kind of like you could handle yourself if you fell off it, you know? Like you couldn't run it off, but you know, it's kind of, you're sort of in that safety zone. But then 60 is like, dude, now I'm really moving. You know, now I definitely can't run anywhere near this speed and I'm going like a car basically. And then 70, it's like a roller coaster. You know, even though it's only 20 Ks more, it's only an extra, it's nearly 50% to be honest, because you're going from 50 to 70. If you went from 50 to 75, that's an extra 50% speed. And when you look at the physics of velocity, that means it's nearly doubled in terms of kinetic energy. But yeah, 50% extra. Let's say from 50 to 70, it's 40% extra. That's how much it is. But it feels like it's way more. It's like 10 times more fun. That's the best way I could explain it. It's like every kilometer, every mph you go above that speed, it's like stepping up into another gear. You know, it's like a whole new, I don't know. I don't even know how to explain it, guys. But yeah, I do look forward to jumping back on the Sherman because of that speed, basically. And the thing as well, though, is it's got the low pedal clearance. That's not something I'm going to miss at all. That's what I hate about the Sherman, guys, is the pedals scrape so easily that you almost feel like you're riding a freaking tricycle. Like, no joke. It's almost like your feet are touching the ground so you got like 3 points of contact. You know, as soon as you do like the slightest turn, it starts scraping, and it's like training wheels. It feels like you got training wheels. It sucks. That's something I really overlooked on that thing, but it's not the worst. Like, I'm kind of making it sound worse than it is. It is bad, but it only really becomes relevant when you're turning sharp corners. Like even a moderate corner, it doesn't really matter. But I like turning sharp corners, especially the slow corners that you turn really tight. It'll scrape so easily, guys. It's something I wish wasn't the case. And it's partly why I want to get the V12 so badly, because the V12 has that extra speed and it has the high pedal clearance. So it's like a Sherman with higher pedals, and it's small. So it's like a mini Sherman with all that speed, all that pedal clearance. all that nimbleness of the 16X. You know, it's something I really want to get. But now that I've heard all these things about it, I don't know. I don't know what to think. I'm just gonna wait, I guess, until I hear something good about them, because all I'm hearing is cut out this, cut out that. I should look into the details of it more, because I don't know, like, are people cutting out at high speed, or is it just cutting out whenever? You know, is it more the user's fault, or is there something wrong with this wheel? And I can't risk that. Like, I don't want to pay all this money just for a plastic box that's going to sit there. But I want that wheel just based on the specs. It'll be awesome. So I'm kind of disappointed with that. I would have bought one by now, to be honest. I would have bought one by now. Oh well. We'll leave it there, guys.